Hey everyone, Aaron here from Rudy Visuals. Hope you're all doing well and keeping safe. In today's video, we're reviewing the Sony Nifty 50, aka the Sony 50mm f1.8 lens, the FE lens for full frame Sony E-mount. Now we've actually owned this lens for a few months now, I think 5-6 months. And it's a lens that's been out since 2016 actually. So today we're gonna see if this is a lens that's actually still worth buying in 2021. Now before we kick on with this video, a word from today's sponsor. Today's video is sponsored by PDFelement. If you're like us, you probably deal with PDFs on a daily basis, so you probably know how frustrating it can be to work and edit with PDF files until now. Wondershare PDFelement is an all-in-one PDF solution that helps you take control of your PDFs like never before. It simplifies and provides a more intuitive solution to create, edit, annotate, convert, and sign signatures with just a few simple clicks, saving me valuable time. In addition, the new template more features tons of editable and customizable PDF templates with everything from resumes, to-do lists, invoices, even greeting cards, and more. And on top of that, you have a host of cloud storage solutions, easy online collaboration, privacy and protection features, and more. It's available now on Windows, Android, and iOS, so download it now and see for yourself. Links in the description box below. So before we get into this review proper, let's get to the important stuff. Here's a quick showcase of some photos and video samples to show you what this lens can do. So let us know what you thought of the photo and video samples down in the comment section below. Now for me personally, I've always been a big fan of Nifty 50 lenses at f1.8, whether it's this one, Canon's Nifty 50, because for me they are really excellent gateway lenses that start you on that path of getting into more serious about photography and videography, but at that nice entry level bang for your buck price. And for Sony mirrorless shooters, these days there are a lot of options when it comes to 50mm lenses, ranging from high-end to more budget-friendly options. And the Sony FE 50mm f1.8 here definitely falls under the latter. And right off the bat, price is one of those things that this lens definitely has going for it. I believe this is actually Sony's cheapest native lens at around £160 here in the UK, or about $250 US. So we own lenses from every end of the spectrum, from budget lenses, mid-ranges to high-end professional grade lenses, and the truth is not everybody wants or even needs to spend thousands of dollars on a lens. So something like this is going to be a fantastic option for a lot of people, especially if you're newer to photography, to filmmaking, or you're just a hobbyist and you don't need the best of the best of the best quality. And most of the things that I will talk about, good and bad, you have to remember that this is a very affordable lens. So keep in mind that price tag. Now for that price, obviously there are some corners that need to be cut, and you can definitely see some of that in the build quality. Like a lot of Nifty 50 lenses, this is a very cheap feeling and plasticky lens. Although the mount is metal, it's not very premium feeling, and as you can hear, there's no weather sealing whatsoever. And to be honest, it probably wouldn't come away from a drop on a hard surface unscathed. But on the flip side, it is very, very small and very compact, very lightweight. It's super easy to carry around. It weighs only 300 grams. And the design is also really simple with just a single focus ring, and it has a filter thread of 49mm, so very small. However, one of the great things about this lens is that max aperture of f1.8. Couple that with the 50mm focal length and its 7-blade circular aperture blades means that you can really defocus those backgrounds, really separate your subjects and make them nicely stand out. And you also get that really nice bokeh and cinematic blurry background. And as you can open up your lens and let in lots of light, it does make this lens very usable in low light and like night as well. As you can see from some of these samples, is it the best looking bokeh I've ever seen? No, not by a long shot. If we look closer as well, you'll see that it's not quite that, you know, that delicious creamy level of more expensive lenses. If we zoom in here, the bokeh is kind of like onion shaped. It's not like fully circular. And that color fringing is also very, very noticeable. More on this later. You can see the difference in the background below when compared to something like the 85 f1.8 and stepping up to something like a 7200 on this one. But you're talking about lenses that are double the price, and in the case of the 7200, I think it's like, what, 10 times the price? Again, factoring the price and the types of people who would buy this lens, and the fact that, to be honest, 90% of your Instagram or Facebook audience is probably not really going to be like zooming in and looking at these things anyway. Image quality wise, this is a decently sharp lens with, you know, decent contrast and color rendition, even when we pair it with the A7R3 and its giant monster sensor of 42.4 megapixels. But again, if we look a little bit closer, it's not razor pinpoint sharp compared to pricier lenses, as you'll see from these comparisons. Is it good enough for the price though? Yeah, I think so. Straight out of the camera as well, you'll also see that compared to pricier lenses, the colors don't look quite as attractive. It takes a little bit more tweaking and work during the editing process to make it look as good. When we compare it to this Sigma 70mm lens, you'll see that the Sigma lens makes the colors just look a lot nicer straight out of camera, so there is a bit more work that needs to be done with the Nifty 50. However, one thing that did impress me was how consistent the sharpness and contrast is corner to corner, even wide open at f1.8, something which you don't really expect with these sort of cheaper kind of lenses. However, the trade-off wide open is that, as you can see, there is quite a lot of vignetting noticeable, and probably the biggest issue of all that chromatic aberration. Stepping down to f2.8, you know, down to f4, f5.6, it does reduce a lot of these issues, but it is kind of disappointing, you know, for me to see how bad the color fringing is. It is something that you see quite often with 50mm lenses at this price point. However, that is the trade-off for this entry level price. And again, to be perfectly honest, if you are sharing these images like for social media purposes, you do have to ask yourself how much of your audience are, you know, photography geeks, how many are gonna like really pixel peep. So it's really down to you whether you think it's a deal breaker. For me, at this price point, it's definitely not. And actually, we used this in a studio shoot. We had pretty much perfect lighting and we shot at f10. And in ideal situations like these, as you can see from these images, actually you can get pretty amazing results, again, considering that price. So it's just something to consider. If you are using it indoors with, you know, the best lighting conditions possible, then you can get pretty good studio results with this as well. One thing I really do love about this lens though is the focal length. So 50mm is just a really nice focal length to shoot with. It's really versatile. It makes for a great sweet spot between like medium and portrait. And you can get some really interesting compositions with a 50mm, which makes it really good for, you know, street photography, portraiture, environmental, travel, and a great lens for just everyday casual shooting. And on a full frame camera, you can just turn on the crop sensor mode and it turns your lens into a 75mm lens, giving you even more reach and making it even better for things like portraiture. Now, I learned photography and got more serious shooting video on my Canon 80D with a simple Canon Nifty 50, and it's almost like a rite of passage at this point. So for me, it's a fantastic focal length for beginners. Now, as for the autofocus, now this is an area where this lens has had issues in the past. So we bought this lens in 2021 with the most recent firmware updates, and from our experience, the AF is good. Not outstanding, but good. For photos, you know, using IAF, the lens pretty much sticks to the eyes mostly always very reliably, and for video with face tracking, again, was also very reliable. Likewise with spot focus, it did a good job with that too. However, it's definitely not what I would call, you know, fast. It's also not great when your subjects move fast, so it's definitely not ideal for shooting things like sports or cars. And as you can hear, there is quite a lot of noise from the motor, which is, you know, kind of annoying. It gets picked up by microphones quite easily. Now, if you're a video shooter, probably the biggest limitation here is the lack of IS. It really is a lens that needs a gimbal or a stabilizer to get the best looking shots, but it's definitely still possible to shoot handheld and get good results, especially for like slow motion shots. And for me, the video quality when I paired it with a Sony A7 III looked pretty good. It would definitely make for a very useful everyday run and gun type of lens. So factoring in everything, yes, it's a lens that has its flaws and it has its limitations, but considering you can get one of these used for like 100 to 130 pounds, honestly, there's really not a reason not to have one. Like I said earlier, a nifty 50 is like a rite of passage, and particularly if you're starting out, maybe you just have a kit lens and you want to get in a more affordable prime lens, it's probably the first lens I would recommend for most people to get who are on a budget. It's a fantastic learning lens, great for general all-purpose usage. Not every lens needs to be a super performing high-end professional lens, and for me personally, the Sony FE 50mm f1.8 is a lens that's very easy to recommend for this reason. But what do you guys think? Do you agree? If you disagree, let us know down in the comment section below. Anyway, that's gonna do it for this video. There are links in the description if you want to find out more about this lens. This is not a paid or sponsored review or anything like that, but go check out those links if you're interested. If you found this video useful, then do me a favor and hit that like button, subscribe to see more, and you can also follow us on socials down here. And I hope I will see you on the next video. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.